Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about the film Horse Ear Bride, which is a film produced in South Korea in 1966. It talks about three recently married couples who were afraid of conceiving girls in the white horse year, which happens in every 60 years. So they tried to make up different excuses so they wouldn't be too intimate with their husbands and avoid conceiving girls who would be born in the white horse year. It is a very one-of-a-kind film. It shows women who are empowered for the era. And it's a film that talks about human intimacy and sex in an extremely straightforward way. Of course that it's tame for nowadays standards, but it's somehow transgression for the era. And as those three women, they refused to be too intimate with their husbands, of course that they couldn't handle this very well. They wanted, of course, to go to bed with their women, with their wives. So two of them gave an excuse that they were pregnant and therefore they couldn't have an intercourse. The husband of one of them, he did all the housework for her. She was in bed resting all day long. Another one, she said she was pregnant too, didn't allow her husband to go close to her. Another woman, the eldest of them, she really had lots of energy and her husband couldn't handle that. We can see in the beginning of the film a kind of fortune teller who was also a matchmaker. He did the matchmaking among all those couples. He said that all of them were a great match. And this character, he also acted as the narrator of the film. So the husband of the woman who was too much energetic, he went to the fortune teller to complain because he was feeling exhausted. Then the fortune teller told him that he should practice yoga. But what the husband didn't know is that his wife was practicing yoga too, so she could have the best of her marriage. And then we see those situations, the women manipulating their husbands to get whatever they wanted. Unfortunately, those two women who said they were pregnant but they were not, they were found out by their husbands. And then we can see lots of conservative reactions. Both husbands slapped their wives, threatened to leave them. It was something very shocking to see nowadays, women being beaten because of that. And we can see the contrast between women who were ahead of their time, empowered, and husbands who still treated them in the most conservative way. Then after a while, those women, they gave up, and then they thought it would be a good idea to have children after all. And then the three of them got pregnant at the same time and they went to the doctor. And the doctor assumed that because of the white horse year, that the women didn't want to have children and that they wanted to have an abortion. And it's nice because the film criticizes this. The doctor said, if no one has children in the white horse year, what will happen with the economy? The schools will be empty, there will be more teachers than students, we will not have any children around, it will bring problems to the country. So this character was criticizing this practice, which is nice. And then the three women said, no, of course not. We want to have our children. It's just a normal doctor appointment. And he said, oh, this is nice. And then the three women, they started talking among themselves of what if their children were girls, that they dreamed that that the girls would be Miss Korea, which is something kind of conservative, because they could wish lots of good things to their future daughters, but they were wishing that they were beautiful. So even though those women, they were empowered for their time, they were also somehow connected to some conservative values. Something very interesting in this film is that it's a comedy, and we can see lots of influence of pop culture, which somehow isn't too much connected with the film. But we can see many young people dancing and singing and all those typical music of the 1960s. And we can see the fashion of the time, which is very interesting as historical witnesses, and very modern too. And then we can see the influence of modern day values and conservative values, which is so often shown in films of this time in many countries. And then it's also interesting to see that even though the husbands were extremely conservative and the women ahead of their time, that the three marriages were actually very happy. The only disruption that took place was that women, they were afraid of having daughters in the white horse year. We can also see two other unmarried women. One of them was a detective working for 007 agency, and another one, she was a dancer, and she flirted with men so she could get some sponsorship for her dancing concert. And then she did that with one man, and he tried to make his way with her, and she avoided him. But then a group of her friends, they took revenge on him, trying to teach him a lesson on how to treat women in a good way. So they kind of kidnapped him, and then they tortured him, taking off his shoe and tickling his feet. Then he was tied in a chair. They spinned the chair, and then they threatened to throw something heavy on his head. But of course, it was just a threat. It was just to scare him and teach him how to treat women in a positive way. And we can see the women that, even though they were in a conservative society, in a conservative era, they tried their very best to empower themselves. It's beautiful to see. And in the end of the film, they were all pregnant in typical clothes. And then we can think, oh my goodness, they were conservative all over again. But no, they got to overcome their superstition. They were willing to have children. Doesn't matter if it was a boy or a girl, if there would be good luck or bad luck. They didn't think about it. So it's positive because they could overcome this superstition, and then they could have children with tranquility and enjoy their marriages, because all the three women, they had happy marriages. And we can see that human beings, we are very complex. We may be ahead of our time, but somehow we are also the product of our time, our society. And it's a very straightforward film when it comes to human relations. It's extremely one of a kind when it comes to classic Korean film. So I strongly recommend you to see that. It's funny, there are some slapstick gags which are nice. It's fast-paced for the era, and I'm sure you're going to love that. That's all for now, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you!